One of the most painful things we can go through as humans is loneliness. Today, we're diving into a source that tries to explain why we feel so isolated. And it offers this really powerful message of an unbreakable connection, a promise that maybe, just maybe, we're never truly alone.
So let's start with a really heavy question, one that kind of gets right to the heart of it all. What is that breaking point? What actually pushes someone right to the edge of absolute despair?
To make this real, the source material actually points to some tragic headlines. Stuff we unfortunately see all the time. A workplace shooting, a parent's desperate final act. And it forces us to look past the surface and ask, what's the common thread here? What's the deep underlying pain?
And this is where we get the big idea, the core diagnosis, if you will. The argument is that the root cause isn't just one single thing. It's this profound, crushing feeling of being abandoned, a sense of being so utterly alone that it just erodes your courage to even live.
Okay, so if feeling abandoned is the problem, where does that even come from? This framework goes even deeper to try and identify what it sees as the theological roots of this universal human struggle. Well, this framework breaks it down into three big root causes. First, you've got sin, which is described here as this state of separation that just gets in the way of real connection. Then there's death, which is, that's the ultimate isolation, right? It creates this deep fear in all of us. And third, temptation, this vicious cycle of shame that makes us feel totally unworthy. All right, so after painting this pretty bleak picture of human isolation, the text pivots. It presents its big answer. This is the turning point of the whole thing, a central promise that's designed to fight back against all that fear and loneliness. And here it is. This is the absolute core of the message, straight from the book of Hebrews. Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. Now, within this framework, that's not just a nice, comforting thought. It's presented as an absolute, unbreakable declaration. And this is so key. The source doesn't present this as just, a nice thought. It's positioned as a foundational reality. It's the bedrock that a person can supposedly build on to get their sense of security back and conquer those deep fears of abandonment we were just talking about. Okay, but how does one single promise tackle those three huge problems we talked about: sin, death, and temptation? Let's dig into how this theological framework actually connects all the dots. This slide lays it all out, right? It's a perfect parallel. For the problem of sin, which separates us, the answer is a high priest. For the problem of death, which isolates us, a divine companion. And for temptation, which shames us, a sympathizer. Let's break down each of those. So first up, how do you deal with sin, that feeling of separation? In this theological view, Jesus acts as a permanent high priest, someone who purifies, who closes that gap, basically removing the fundamental barrier to connection. Then there's death, the ultimate isolation. The argument here is really unique. It's that God didn't just stay distant, but actually became human to go through death. By doing that, he becomes a companion in our single greatest fear, so that even there, we're not alone. And last but not least, what about temptation? That whole cycle of shame that makes us want to hide. The answer proposed here is a sympathizer. Someone who is also tempted, who gets our weaknesses, and who is always advocating for us. And the key part? There's no expiration date. That support is always on the table. All right, so that's the big theological idea. But so what? How does this actually play out in real life, in our day-to-day? The idea is when a person really and truly internalizes this deep sense of security, it unlocks the ability to build real healthy communities. And you can see how this is supposed to work, like a set of dominoes. It starts with internalizing that acceptance from God. That, in turn, helps you regain your self-worth and confidence. And once you feel secure, you can stop just focusing on yourself and actually start opening up to other people, which is the foundation for everything, really, for strong families, strong communities. The idea is once you're not constantly worried about your own security, your own fear of being left alone, you're free. You're freed up to do what the book of Hebrews actually says to do. Love each other, welcome strangers, help people who are suffering. Why? Because your own place is secure. And the same idea of security gets applied directly to marriage. It's defined here as a sacred lifelong covenant. The source contrasts this with a more modern view of marriage that might be based on, temporary feelings or suitability.
The argument is that the covenant model provides a much deeper, more lasting security. And this all builds up to a much bigger point about society as a whole. The argument here is that stable families, the ones built on this principle of an unbreakable commitment, are the best antidote we have to a society that's full of alienation. They become the building blocks of a connected world. So here we are, right back where we started, with this foundational promise. It's the anchor, not just for an individual's peace of mind, but for the health and stability of our most important relationships and, by extension, our communities.
And that really leaves us with one final big question to think about. This framework we've looked at proposes one very specific foundation for security. But it's worth asking ourselves, no matter what we believe, what is the foundation of our confidence? In a world that so often feels isolating, what is it that truly makes you feel secure?